Hello and welcome to the May 20th, 2022 edition of Watching the Tape. There's a scary word being tossed around a lot lately, stagflation. What is stagflation? Why are people talking about it, and what can be done about it? Well, stagflation is very simply weak economic growth coupled with high inflation. Neither is good, but typically when we have a weak economy, demand is lower, so prices aren't pushed higher, and so inflation is low. Or alternatively, in a strong economy, demand is strong and prices can be pushed higher, leading to higher inflation, but at least you have a strong economy in the first place, which is a good thing. But having weak economic growth and higher prices, that's rough. That is not a good thing. And there is a gauge that is used to measure this over time, and it is called the misery index. And the misery index is inflation as measured by CPI plus the unemployment rate. The higher the combined number, the more miserable the average American is, or so the thinking goes. So this chart right here shows the misery index going back to 1950. And the last time that stagflation was truly awful was in the 1970s with high unemployment and high inflation. So why are we seeing this word pop up more and more in news headlines these days? Well, one of the components, inflation, is very high, and it appears to be persistent. And now we're increasingly seeing signs of weak economic growth or potentially a recession on the horizon. And stagflation is really, it's a nightmare scenario for our central bank, the Federal Reserve. Because recall that the Federal Reserve has two mandates: maximum employment and price stability. And I would say we have maximum employment at the moment, but we absolutely do not have price stability. Inflation is very high. CPI came in at 8.3% in April. So last year, when our central bankers were in denial about inflation and were thus continuing to stimulate the economy with 0% interest rates and newly printed money, they were really fanning the flames of inflation. And the Fed has since changed its course and is now slowing that money printing and raising interest rates, but I would argue too slowly so far to really make a dent in inflation. But just this week, we got some more hawkish commentary out of the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, who said this about interest rates. If that involves moving past broadly understood levels of neutral, we won't hesitate to do that. We will go until we feel we're at a place where we can say financial conditions are in an appropriate place. We see inflation coming down. We'll go to that point. There won't be any hesitation about that. Well, if you're not a Fed watcher like me, it may not be entirely obvious what this means, but the way I interpret this is that they're essentially posturing that they'll keep raising interest rates aggressively until inflation shows signs of coming down to about 2%. I'll believe that when I see it. The challenge with this is the Fed's other mandate, and that is maximum employment. And that could be negatively impacted if rising interest rates push the economy into a recession. And that's why stagflation is really just it's a worst case scenario for the Fed, for central banks in general. It's really tricky digging yourself out of this hole. Thanks for watching. Please call with any questions. If you enjoy the video and think that you know someone who might also enjoy it, please forward it. There will be no video next week, so I will see you in 2 weeks.